information that raises serious concerns about a long history of financial corruption and malfeasance at the highest levels of the office of the prosecutor.
Let's get more on all of this from Hydee Dijkstal, who is an international criminal and human rights lawyer. Hydee, I just want to start with your reaction to the administration's decision to actually put sanctions on the ICC.
Yeah, as was said before, it certainly is unprecedented, and it will have a chilling effect on international justice, on making sure that war crimes, crimes against humanity, all of these international crimes are, that there is justice, there's accountability, and making sure there's not impunity for those crimes. Now, at the ICC, there was hundreds of victims that signed up to participate who were affected by these crimes. And this chilling effect that steps like this by the United States means that victims of crimes might not get justice for what happened to them.
In terms of the actual the investigation into the suspected war crimes that the ICC has been looking into, what impact do you think that this will have on that?
Well, I should probably explain a little bit. What's happened here is the prosecution asked the judges to open up a full investigation. What the prosecution had started before was what's called a preliminary examination. It's a scoping exercise to try to filter out crimes, and if they believe that the information they have before them creates a reasonable basis to believe there's crimes, then they can ask permission to start a full investigation. And the pretrial chamber in 2019 actually rejected that application and said that the reason that they could not move forward with the full investigation was that it was not in the interest of justice to do so. Even though the judges did say that there was a reasonable basis based on the evidence to believe that those crimes were committed, there was not an interest of justice to move forward with the investigation, partly because there wasn't cooperation from the parties, and the political situation was changing there, so the likelihood that an investigation would be successful was low, and that's why they rejected it. Now, what happened in March was that the appeals chamber overturned that and said the prosecution can go ahead and start that full investigation, including for U.S. Armed forces and CIA members, and that's really what's, it seems as though has caused the Trump administration to take these actions. Now, the way that it would affect the prosecutors' investigation really goes back to what the pretrial chamber said about the fact that a full investigation might not be feasible because there's not cooperation from the parties. The Trump administration has made very clear that they're not going to cooperate in any way with providing information, helping the prosecution with their investigation in order to move it forward. So it really would hinder that. The other thing I would say is that these travel restrictions against staff members of the prosecution, they can really affect the ability of the prosecution to fulfill its mandate, including traveling to the United States in order to give the periodic reports that the prosecutor is required to give to the UN Security Council, which is hosted in New York. So that's also not only affecting that Afghanistan situation, but other situations before the court, like the Libya situation or the Sudanese situation, where there is a report that's required back to the Security Council.
And I wanted to get your reaction, Hydee, to the soundbite that we played before you from the Attorney General, Bill Barr. He said, we're concerned that foreign powers like Russia are also manipulating the ICC in pursuit of their own agenda. He's actually saying that the DOJ has substantial and credible information there. But where do you think that that's coming from?
You know, that was a very surprising quote to hear from the minister, from Barr. It's something that I've never heard before. What's really interesting about it is the fact that no evidence was provided to substantiate that. So right now it's just an allegation being made without evidence. Now, what I would say as far as saying that Russia is somehow financially influencing the ICC. The Office of the Prosecutor is an independent organ of the court, and they do conduct their investigations independently and should be above outside influence. And as far as funding goes, the funding comes from the state parties who are members of the Rome Statute, and that is very closely watched by the Assembly of State Parties. So what funds are given to the Office of the Prosecutor, how they're being used, every year that's being assessed. So it's very hard to understand how he can make an allegation about corruption with the Office of the Prosecutor and the way that they're using their funds when it is very carefully documented and watched as well.
Hydee Dijkstal, we really appreciate you coming on to add your expertise. Thanks for that.